Okay, so moving down the line here, we have the Materials tab. And the Materials is where you will change the color and shininess and reflectiveness and transparency and various aspects of an object's material. So if I click on this sphere and I'm under the Material tab of the Properties panel and I click New, this will create a new material for this object. And then I can name that material, say I'll call it my sphere mat, hit enter. Much like under the world preview of the sky we created earlier, you can see a preview of the way the material looks under the preview, expand this preview tab here. And so you have several different ways of viewing your material, just so you can see how it might look. And you change the color of the material basically under the diffuse. So you click on the white and you get this little kind of color picker, and you can drag it wherever you want, or you can enter in specific RGB value. You can also change the type. Say you have a specific web hex color you want to enter in, you can enter it in that way. But you can just select the kind of color you want here, and that changes it, and then the way you're viewing it appears here. So there's a whole world of stuff to get into with this one. This is just a basic overview. It's important to understand that much like how the World tab and the Render tab are very closely related with items working to and fro with each other, the Material and the Texture tab are buddies. To add a texture, an object first has to have a material. So the material and the texture are very closely related. If we click on another object, you can see that they do not have materials applied to them, so this area is blank. So I could create a new material for this cube. I could go to New and then name it a cube mat, enter, whatever, it could be anything, and change its color to red. Or if I say I click on this object here, instead of creating a new one, I could just select from one of the ones I already created, which were my sphere mat or a cube mat. I'll just say I pick a cube mat for that one as well. So if moving along to the Texture tab, in the Texture tab you'll see these three little icons, and this first one, where it's usually on by default, this is going to load whatever textures you load here. We'll load them directly into the material of the selected object. And remember that all of these properties, most of them anyway, are related to whatever object you have selected. So this Material tab and Texture tab are talking about the same guy. But also, you know, whatever material you have applied to anything else, it's going to affect that other thing. So whatever I change on this one is going to show up on here because they're both using the same material. This tab here sends the texture to the material, and so if we were to create new here and say I change the type to image or movie, so say we wanted to use this little render we did a minute ago as a texture for some reason, I could go to Image, Save as Image, and navigate to whatever folder that I want it to be under. We'll use our Blender folder we've been using for this project. I'm going to go ahead and create a new directory here and click OK, and we'll call it Textures. And in here, let's save this as render01. We can see that this will save as a PNG file. We could change whatever type we wanted to over here for it to save as. And we'll click Save as Image. So now under the image here, I'll click Open and navigate to where our folder is and our textures and click that. Because we are in viewport shading mode of texture, you can see that it's kind of blown out, but you can see that this the render now shows up on this cube material we made. This, what is it called? A cube mat material. And as you can see, we can't see the background here because we save this image as a PNG, and under the render tab I have under output I have RGBA, which what that does is save, if you save in a format like PNG, it saves the background as transparent, which that could do a, you know, a really cool effect for us. But say under the texture tab and under image, or rather back in the UV image editor, say we go to image and save as image, and then we then change the type to JPEG, and we'll call this render02 and save as image. Now if under the texture tab, under the image, if we click here to choose it and we change it to the JPEG one, you'll see that it now includes the whole background of the image on here. And we could just as easily click on this sphere here, and under the material, if we changed it to a cube matte, it would then apply that to it as well. And there is a whole lifetime of worth of information to go over with the material and the textures tab. This is a very kind of quick little overview. But just know that to add a texture, you have to first have a material. And so the texture tab and material tab are very related. I was talking about these icons earlier here in the texture tab. Because we have the material icon selected here, this texture was loaded to the material. However, if under the world view, where we can see where our background is, we wanted to upload like a picture of a sky or something like that, we would then under the texture select the world, and then we would click new and maybe change this to image or movie if we were going to load up a picture of a sky. And that is how you would change the background through your texture. And then the final tab here is for loading a texture for brushes. And you can basically load textures for brushes for painting onto objects, and for like actually using the texture as like a 3D manipulation brush of an object to like sculpting. And so the different type of textures you want to load should be relative to the icon you have chosen here. Finally, in our properties panel, we have particles and physics tabs, which I'm not going to get into these right now because this is just supposed to be a basic overview of the properties panel. But just know that that's where these are located.